Howdy, everybody, and welcome back to Ireland Bound. Uh, I know it's been a little bit, but I've had a lot of stuff going on the past couple of weeks, so I finally got a moment, and I also got some new software downloaded so that I can continue with doing some a little bit different stuff, um, as I did in my last one, the story about my grandmother and grandfather. uh, I told y'all that it was the last story that I could remember at the moment. Um, I have so many stories from so many different parts of the family. Sometimes I've got to stop and remember. Now, is this my mom's side or is this my dad's side? Is this grandma's family? Is this grandpa's family? But yeah, it's the last of theirs that I know for certain is theirs. Um, if I find some more, like I said, well, I'll probably do some more on my grandmother's side, which means that there will be more stories from her. And I'm thinking maybe in about a year's time or so that I might do some from my dad's side of the family, because I mean, I've got a lot of Irish roots over there as well. So I might as well explore those and find out if there's someplace I can go for his side of the family as well as my mom's side. So, anyways, I'm going to kind of do some other things. I'm going to. Some people will probably be bored by it because it's going to be more along the lines of the genealogy side. That's my cat, July. She she has no manners. She'll walk through anything. But anyways, as I said, I'm going to do a little bit more of kind of the genealogy and research and stuff, and kind of connect together some of the things and see how much I can connect back to Ireland. Um, I'm going to use two different sites. The one I've already actually got a lot of the tree set up on is Ancestry.com, but there's some other sites that I want to use just to make sure all the information is correct. Uh, you know how it goes sometimes. There was one that I was a member of that I had started it with my dad's side of the family, and was setting up a lot with his and his first wife. Some of her nieces and nephews started claiming him as a relative, and all of a sudden I ended up with their stuff, and it got really frustrating trying to go through all that and go, okay, nope, this isn't what I'm looking for. This isn't what I'm looking for. In fact, it got to the point their stuff was the only stuff that was coming up. There wasn't anything that was actually connected with my dad's side of the family. So I'm hoping maybe try a different site and see if I can get some new information, something that's a little bit more on, you know, goes with what I'm looking for. See if it adds up, because if there's some discrepancies, I might have to go back and really do some research. And of course, anybody who's interested in genealogy, uh, like I said, if there's something that I'm doing that you're looking, going, no, that's not right, you might give me a little more direction, or maybe I'm doing something you hadn't thought of and I can help you out with yours. But anyways, let's go ahead and get in, and I'm going to start y'all out on Ancestry.com. Okay, so I'm going to start y'all out on my home screen. This is where, of course, everything is set up to where I can, go to wherever I need. Now, you see up here in this top left-hand corner, the one that says Ancestry, and it shows what looks like leaves coming out of the side of a tree, or at least the side of something. That is the Ancestry.com app. Um, Ancestry is the largest and probably the most accurate site, because they have access to thousands, maybe even millions of records that a lot of other sites don't have. So they are kind of the premier thing. And unfortunately, they charge a premier price. But I have discovered there are things you can do for free, such as building your tree. So we're going to go over to there and see, here it pops up. See right down there, there I am. See the little black button? That is your start off point. Now I'm going to go into there and I'm going to view the profile. No, actually, before we review the profile, let's go to edit person, because I want to show you some of the things in there. Of course, when you go in and you type, it asks for your first name. You type it in. You ask for your last name. You type it in. And, of course, it'll ask, gender. Are you male or female? Unknown. And, of course, you put on there what you want to put. And since I'm a female, women have maiden names and they have married names. Well, of course, my maiden name is Garrett, and it started giving me options and all this, but I wanted to go with my mom's side of the family, so I kind of ignored my dad's side of the family for a few moments. Now, you see also, too, that it has down here, it wants to know your birth date. When you're discussing your genealogy and stuff like that, the birth dates are important. So, have my birthday listed there where I was born. And you notice down here at the very bottom, it says the person is living. Now you go back over here to the right hand side, there is a little green button. That green slide button, with it being green, it says that I'm living. If I slid it back the other way, it would say that I had passed away. So, if I had passed away, it would ask, what is the date of death, which I will go into that here in just a few moments. So, anyways, like I said, it's got my vital statistics. Tell you what, we'll go ahead and go up here, and I'm going to start with my mother. Go into her thing here, her profile. Now, you see up at the top, it has the date or the year she was born, 1937. It has the year she died, 2017. Also, too, it has her relationship to me. Now, when you start this, and of course, like I said, you started out with your name, everything is in relation to you, your mother, your uncle, your aunt, your cousins, your brother, your sister, your grandparents, great grandparents, and every reference is going to be back to you. So we're going to go down here just a little bit. See, we got 3 sections here: life story, facts, and notes. So we're going to start with the life story part first. Um, and of course, it gives a summary of her, her name, Dorothy Rogers, uh, when she was born, August the 18th, 37, and where she was born, which is Dalhart, Texas. Her dad, his age, her mom, her age, and of course the fact that she has one daughter, me. I'm her only child, so there's no, well, I'm her only child. I'm my dad's second child, so it kind of gets a little tricky when you start having step siblings and stuff like that. It says down here, of course, when she died and how old she was. But you go down here where it actually starts with the timeline. Now, you notice it gives her birth, Dorothy Rogers, when she was born, Dalhart, Texas, grandma's name, grandpa's name. But you go down here and in small print, it has some of the information again. 18th of August, 1937, Dalhart, which is the town, and then Hartley is the county that she was born in. So, since she was born in the town of Dalhart, Texas, that town is located in the county of Hartley. Now, most of the time, I have noticed that a state will have one name. I've seen a lot of other sites that if for some reason someone else came up with the same name, they would usually go to the town that came up with the name second. They tell them, it's like, oh, sorry, this town already exists, that they've been in existence longer than you. You need to change your name. So at least I know for certain in the state of Texas, there's only going to be one Dalhart, and it's in Hartley. Now, I can't answer for other states, but I feel reasonably safe in saying that's probably going to be true for other states. But still, it lets you know the county. So that way, if you're wanting to look up records, you have the county's name. And of course, USA, since I am an American. My mom was American. In fact, several generations back is American. Um, Now, of course, when you get to this one, 1940 is actually part of the census records. So we came up here from her birth, which is in 1937 to 1940. Dorothy Rogers lived in Dalhart, Texas in 1940. And of course, she was only like 37, 38, 39. She was 40 years old. Marital status, single. 3-year-olds usually are single. Relation to the head. Now, when it says this, it's talking about her father, who is the head of the family. Most genealogies recognize the father as the head of the family, unless for some reason, like he died when the children were born, and then the mother's the one who, takes care of everything. If she remarries, a lot of times the stepfather will become the head of the family. But since her father was alive at the time, then she was the daughter to the head of the family. So, like I said, 1940 would be a census record. In America, censuses are taken every 10 years on the zeros: 1900, 1910, 1920, 1930, 1940, 50, 60, so on and so on. They decided every 10 years was good enough, even though sometimes you had some kids that they would die, or they were born after the last census was taken and died before the next one was taken. So sometimes some of them slipped through the cracks. But, like I said, that was when she was born, so she got to be part of the 1940 census, her very first one. 1942 was when her brother John was born. Now, it's a lot of the same thing. His name, birth Dalhart, and then it says here when Dorothy was 5 years old. So it gives when and how old my mother was. Since they are a brother-sister relation, and if you didn't notice, his name was beside hers because they are brother and sister. Now, something I noticed, and it was something that I haven't had a chance to check into, he was born in Dalhart also, but it lists it as Dallam, Texas. Now, when I was going through looking, it didn't give a Hartley as a possibility. It gave like 3 choices, and Dallam was the one at the top of the list, but Hartley wasn't there. There might have been a name change in the county for some reason. As I said, I don't know. I'm going to have to check into that, and I might need to either update my mother's record on that or my uncle's record, depending on which way it goes. So that's something that's kind of part of the research thing at the moment. It goes down 1950. You notice now it's California. So, see, 1950, that means she's about 13 years old at that time, because she was 3 years old in the 40 census, remember? So 1950 census, Dorothy Rogers lived in Lake, California in 1950. Relation to head, daughter, marital status, never married. Once again, most 13-year-olds don't get married. And so she's living in Lake, California at that time. Now, you're probably looking and wondering why there's not a 1960 or 70 census. Census records are not released for, I want to say, 72 years. I know it's a long period of time. The 1950 census just came out here this last year. So 50 to now, yeah, that'd be 72 years. So it was just this year that 1950 stats were put out. So you can research anything from the 50s, 40s, 30s, 20s, going back that direction to as far back as we started doing census records. but you're not going to find any 1960s yet. You're going to have to wait another 10 years to get those. And of course, as we go down here, when I was born, the death of her father, the death of her mother, and then, of course, her own death. So this is basically my mother's timeline. Now, people who are alive for more census, they're going to get more information. So we're going to come back up here to the top, and right fast, before we go anywhere, got the gallery. You see that right there, and then it shows like the shutter button for the camera. Of course, the picture of my mom, I had put that up myself. So I can go into my records. See, you got different things. Scan photos, which you'd have to take a picture with the device you're using, or scan it with the device you're using. Take a photo, something off the camera roll, record audio, upload audio. What we want to do is we want to go into the camera roll. And hope that I can go back far enough because I've got a lot of pictures. Uh, I've got a whole lot of pictures to go through to get back to something with my mother. So you just keep rolling back. Yes, I know, lots of nature, lots of kitties. Now, see, I could go through and I could put up one of these because actually the one on the left has a picture of my mother in it. But the thing is, there's three people in there I can't positively identify. I think the one in front of my grandfather is his uncle. Um, let's see, not Enel. It wasn't Enel. I think it was the other one because the other one that was a little bit older, and his name was slipped my mind right at the moment. Um, I could use that one, but since I don't know everybody, I want to skip it for right now. I mean, I'd only be able to get 4 people out of the 7. So I'll go down further. Some of these pictures you might remember from, you know, some of the other things I did. Well, tell you what, we will stop and do this one that I'm fixing to tag because it's a picture of my mom and basically her family. So I'm going to tag that. Now you see up there it says one selected. You hit done, downloading, and give it a few moments. It should come up. Might take quite a few moments. I hope not. Sometimes you gotta wait on technology. Sometimes it takes quite a while for technology to do what it's supposed to do. Um, Let me see. Yeah, it shows I'm still connected to the internet. So, come on. Okay, let's hit the view all. Let's see. Nope, it hasn't downloaded yet. So we'll come back to that. We'll see if it's just taking a while for it to download, um, and see where that gets us. So we'll come back. We'll look at that. We'll give it a chance to download. So let's go over to facts and look at this for a moment. Now you see on one side it's got basically everything that we have looked at on her timeline. That's basically my mom's timeline right there. Oops, sorry, pull the screen down too far. Sources: 1940 and 1950 census. At the time she was born, those are the only two censuses that we have, connections to. If I had full access, I could hit search records and find a whole lot of other things. Got her parents listed here, siblings, spouse. Um, I could add her first husband if I wanted to, but since they didn't have any kids, truthfully, I don't want to. So I'll add my dad's later on and kind of show you how that goes. Children, add families, so you can add other people to her that you might want to add. Notes. Now, this over here are things that you might want to leave. Says notes can only be viewed by the owner and by those invited to the tree as an editor. So this is something that it would be personal. This is like your own private things, things that you want to maybe remember for later on, something, so that way if something happens, you can remember, this happened, that happened, whatever, it might be. So anyways, we'll go back. Oop, went a little bit too far, didn't we? Because there's something else that I had wanted to show you before we left out of there. Yep, still haven't got it up yet. It might take a few minutes. So we're going to view 10 hints. Now, these are things about my mother that might or might not be true. And I'm getting the will of death. I love how long sometimes it takes. There we go. Now, see, the green leaves indicate things that you can look at. Texas U.S. Select County marriage records. Dorothy Jean Rogers. Now, that was my mother's name. Also, too, you always need to check spellings, because not everyone spells Dorothy with two O's. Some of them spell it with one O, Dorthy. My grandmother wanted the two O's, so she became Dorothy Jean. Also, to the Rogers name. I know some of the research that I've done, the name Rogers with a D is technically the same name, but for record purposes, that's not how my mom or her family spelled it. It was Rogers. So you have to make sure of your spellings, because it can make all the difference. Is this one my mom? Yes, it is. The next one down, the divorce index, Dorothy Jean Hale, that's my mom also, because that was the last name of her first husband, the one I mentioned a few minutes ago. So that would be her also. Let's see. It says usnewspapers.com marriage index. We're going to pull that up for a moment. And it goes through and says what this record says. Dorothy Jean Rogers, female, marriage date about 1956. And then it has your tree, and my mom, in fact, she's a female. You go down here, Dorothy Rogers family, new person, Ralph Laverne Hale, husband. Okay, yes, that was my mom's first husband. That was his name. And it's not letting me go down any further. It won't let me pull it up, because you can see there's something that says like news provided in association with newspapers.com. Okay, so it's just basically an ad. If I wanted to, I could hit the yes, because, yeah, that would be her first husband. But I don't want it to put it down as my father, because he's not my father. So I'm just going to ignore that one for right now. Now I go down further. See, here it has the Dalhart, Texas, instead of listed as Hartley, it now has it listed as Dallam also, which, of course, would still be my mother's. So, if I go and do research, we might discover that it is actually Dallam County instead of being Hartley County. There was a problem displaying this page. Okay, so that might be one of those that I don't have access to. School books, the yearbooks that they have. My mom might be in some of them, but once again, I don't have access to that, because I haven't paid for the service. U.S. city directories, places that she's lived, possibly. Now, Doris Rogers, that would not be my mother, because she has never been Doris. She's never been known as Doris. So we go into this. It says retry, because it can't display. Usually this black screen would have something on it, like where it says yearbooks, it would have stuff on it. Like writing and things that would be pertinent to my research. But as you can see, black screen. So for some reason, it's just not pulling it up right at the moment. So that's something that we might have to come back to at a later time. Um, let's see. Let's go up here and pull up this top one. Nope, it's not letting me get anything. Um, for some reason, my internet might have just gone out on me. In which case, this isn't going to do me a whole lot of good, is it? No, it shows I still have a connection. It's just that for whatever reason, it's here. Let's see if I can get the internet connection back. Yeah, that's one of the problems you have to deal with whenever you're dealing with the internet. Sometimes you might lose the connection. But anyway, so since I seem to have lost my connection, I'm going to go ahead and put a pause on this, and maybe we can get back later and take a look and find out a little bit more. So for right now, I am going. Okay, and we are back. I think I got my internet connected back again. So let's go back into my mother's thing, see if we can pick up some of where we left off, um, and see what we can go. Let's see, we were in hints. So, yes, there we go. Now you see it says Texas U.S. Birth Index, and it's got a listing of all these different names. Somewhere on here would be my mother's name, um, with all the information. But, like I said, I probably don't have connection to that. Does this record match the Dorothy Rogers in your tree? I see you got all these uh, Rogers over here, and there's probably her name is down for no up closer to the top because it's alphabetical. But since I don't have access to the thing, I can't, to this part of the records, I can't do much more. But we can look. This record shows Dorothy Jean Rogers, female, birth date, um, birth locations. It says Dallam, Texas, but that might be the county because on my uncles it showed Dallam as being the county. Uh, Dorothy's Rogers family update: Dick Rogers' father. So yep, that's it right there. That's her dad. Of course, shows here, it says view and save this record to your tree. Start free trial. The only way I can start the free trial is if I actually purchase the plan. And as I said, I don't have the money to do that right now because, in all honesty, it is really expensive. It's like to get the world view, which of course I'm trying to get to Ireland, it would be like $60 a month. And I just don't have that right at the moment. So that's going to be something I'm going to have to wait on. See down here, yearbooks shows different pictures and stuff like that. Now, Doris Rogers is not my mother. So, like I said, it's not letting me. She was born about the same year, but it doesn't say anything more. Of course, the wrong first name says about 1937, which means the person isn't sure, which most likely means it's not my mother. City directories, that would be like if she was listed in the phone book at any time. School yearbooks. Uh, I don't know if they still do yearbooks like they used to, where you'd have, like everybody's name. Of course, this is for Doris Rogers, anyways, which is not my mother. Dora Rogers, not my mother. Of course, Dorothy is, but let's see. I'm not Dorothy Rogers. See, it's got Dorothy Rogers listed right here. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. That would be her in this first picture. That's not my mother. That is not a picture of my mother. So, see, even though it's the same name, the picture is not right. Um, go down here a little bit further. Here's another yearbook for Dorothy Rogers. And these pictures are my mother either. So, see, sometimes the name might be similar, but if the picture isn't adding up, you know, it's not the same person. Okay, for some reason, that picture still hasn't loaded, has it? Okay, so let's go back and let's see. It might have been the fact that the internet was down, because the picture was actually on my phone, and this gives me access to my phone pictures. So we scroll back a ways, go back to, yes, here it was. This was the photo I wanted. One selected, done. And I don't think it's going to load it. Let me load about 3 of them for my grandfather, but it's not letting me load them for my mom for some reason. Let's go back to Life Store, see if that makes a difference. Nope. Okay, well, I'll have to try and figure that one out later. Sometimes technology does not work like you expect it to. So you just have to go and move on. Now, remember what I said earlier? There's her brother, John W. Rogers. He's actually passed away, but for some reason it hasn't shown up that he has passed away. In fact, he passed away before Mama did. I believe it was 2015 that he passed. We just recently went past his death anniversary here just a few weeks ago. Now, here's something. My grandmother, uh, December 22nd, her birthday was here just the other day. When I'm filming this is December 23rd. So her birthday would have been yesterday, which means that she would have celebrated, let's see 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. She would have celebrated 100 and 114 years if she had been alive, which is a bit uncommon, but about 114 years ago that she had been born. Of course, all of her information too, but we're not going to get into that. We're going to go back a little bit further. Now, if any of y'all remember from my first episode, I said that we were going to trace back through my grandmother. Now, here we have my grandfather, Dick Rogers, and it's through his mother, or excuse me, his mother's side of the family that I'm wanting to go. Now, you look and you think, oh, the family tree has ended. No. See, right above Hazel B. Rogers, there's a little up arrow. You hit that. And here in just a moment, see, you get a whole bunch more people now. Now, Hazel was the mother of my grandfather. She had a mother named Tafina. Now, when I first was, of course, looking through this, I had a card, or not a card, excuse me, a picture. They had a picture of a woman, and it said Rebecca Ewing, and then I thought it said Tafina's grandmother. And I was sitting there thinking, okay, it's like this is my great great grandmother's grandmother. Well, whenever I started actually pulling it up, the information that came up surprised me. This is one of the first surprises I got, because her came up as her mother. Now, see, sometimes you gotta go by the dates, and Grandma's isn't complete. Grandma Tafina, I'll have to go in and do some repair work on hers, which I will save for another time to show you how to edit those. And I'll be using some of the records that my uncle made whenever he was doing research. I've got a lot of his genealogy papers that I have to go through. So we have Alexander Rogers and Rebecca Ewing, which were Tafina's parents. Now, this is how I felt for certain I was on the right track, because Rebecca pulled up, look at this, we've got another Tafina Holcomb. Now, Tafina is not that common of a name, I don't think. And the fact that, there was a grandmother to her named Tafina also would indicate, yeah, I'm on the right track with that. So I can feel pretty certain, considering that I have written account that I had a grandmother somewhere back named Rebecca Ewing, and that she had a mother named Tafina Holcomb, that she probably named her daughter Tafina after her mother. That's another thing that you can look for, is similar names, especially whenever you have a name that is a little bit unusual, like Tafina. Um, you come back to hers here, and you look in hers, she's my fourth great grandmother, 1817 to 1889. That's pretty far back, and of course, no pictures of her because back then that everyone didn't take pictures of everybody. To find someone that had a picture of them was pretty rare. Considering that cameras weren't invented until what, the 1830s, I want to say. So I might be wrong, I might be right, but see, here's someone else's research on who she was, and her connections and everything about her. When she died. Um, so it's you can go pretty far back sometimes with some of these, looking for things, viewing her hints just to show you how different they could be. Andrew Ewing and Tafina Wilcox. So her maiden name was probably Wilcox. So it's the second one there. On the page where you see the whole entire thing, you have one at the top and then you have a second one. That second one is Andrew and Tafina. That is basically back 100 or more years ago, everybody would write everything down. So it was written down that the two of them got married on this, certain date. This book is the ledger, basically. Um, that was submitted by someone, M.J. Aldridge, 51. So they did some research and they found, you know, who this person was. A lot of times is other people. Now, to Fina Niles Ewing, that one, that would have, I don't know where the Niles is coming from, because I don't know if that would have been her middle name. Like I said, that would take some research going back and trying to find out who she was. Then here, Tafina Ewing in Ohio and Iowa, which, of course, I know that there are some family roots that go through both of those, so that's a connection. That very possibly is the same Tafina. Now, you notice this one is Safina, which would most likely not be my grandmother. Tafina Holcomb. That probably is a misspelling. Tafina Ewing. It might be the actual spelling. I don't know. That's one of those things, like I said, it would take some research going back and looking. Tafina Wilcox. Back there, up further at the top, I believe Wilcox was the name that was listed for the Tafina that got married. And also, too, notice the spellings. Taphina. Ta, let's take out one set of that ph, so that'd be Taphena. It sounds the same, spelled differently. Tafina Wilcox, Tafina Ewing, Tafina Holcomb. So it's, some of it might be on the right, some of it might not be. The fact that one thing lists her as Holcomb, it might actually be Wilcox, and I got wrong information. But the name Tafina, that's what you keep coming back to. And it's spelt just the same, Taphena. I know in some of the other records I saw, and I haven't been able to find them since I saw it, there was someone who would have been closer to my mother's age, who her first name was Tafina, And I think her last name was Rogers. So, you know, she would have a connection there, going back to Tafina Rogers and then back to Tafina Holcomb. Like I said, it just sometimes some of these, especially further back you go, you have to do more research on. You have to really, take the time and look at some of these people and find out, is this the right person? It might be, it might not be. Um, you have to do your homework. You have to look. You have to be certain, of who you're connected with. Um, like I said, I can go back for certain to James Chauncey and Tafina Jane. I know for certain back to them. Past that point, Rebecca Ewing is the only other name I have for certain, and everything else is guesswork. But I have them listed because it gives me the information where I can look at them again. I can go in and I can edit it sometime, to make sure that I do have it right. Now, there's one here. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to hit on to him. It's the Zephaniah Rogers. Um, he actually had another wife listed, which if she had died, he could have taken a second wife, which could have been my grandmother. Um, the first woman could have been my grandmother. It's just, it would take a little bit of searching to be certain. Um, Now, this one really surprised me. He's the one I mentioned, 1773. So if all my information is right, if everything is correct, then I have an ancestor that goes back to 1773. Now, if anybody who knows American history, 1776 is when America became its own nation. He was like 3 years old at that time. 3. I have an ancestor that would predate the American Revolution. That he would go back far enough that before America was a country. So it's, like I said, it kind of gets a little bit exciting when you start looking through. He had a son, William H., which is pretty possibly, my grandfather also. Like I said, I need to go back for certain and find out who these people are. Like I said, the past James and Tafina, the only one I know for certain is Rebecca, and I feel pretty certain that the Tafina Holcomb is probably her mother also. But with having other Tafinas, might or might not be. Also, too, when you're doing them, check the dates on some of these when you're looking. See, like James C. Rogers, 1867 to 41. Um, if you count back 20 years, 67, 57, 47, then either one of his parents would have to have been born in 1847, approximately around that time, or before. Because a lot of people, they might have gotten married when they were 16 and 17. But if you're looking and they were like born, either when someone was like 5 years old, you know, like if James's records had come up and Mary Jane would have been 5 years old when James Chauncey was born, then the possibilities would be great that that was not his mother. So sometimes you just need to kind of use some common sense and check dates, make sure that you don't have someone too crazily off. Um, when you look at Zephaniah, he's quite a bit older than John Rogers, the Reverend W.H. Rogers. He's quite a bit older, but then again, he's not the one actually bearing the child, it's the woman. So, I mean, as long as he's older, it could possibly happen because men have been known to have children nowadays into their 60s and 70s. So, I mean, it could be it, just making sure the mother's age is right, also. Too young, probably not. Way too old, probably not. So you kind of, like I said, you need to make a judgment call and say, wait a minute, these birth and deaths aren't adding up here. But anyways, that's just kind of a little bit of a view of how far back I've gotten. Honestly, I feel pretty certain on most of these, but I do want to do some research and make sure that all of them are related. Um, I've taken up quite a bit of time right now, so later on we'll go back in and I'll show you how to edit things, like my uncle Johnny here, putting in his death dates, going up, and Tafina putting in her birth and death, and who knows, maybe we can do some research with my uncle's stuff that he has and find out for certain that some of these people are who they say they are. Uh, some of these might have been done by someone else who did do their research and they are who they say they are. So, anyways, like I said, we'll get into that at a later time. And for right now, I guess I will talk to everybody later. Bye. Okay, well, there was a little search into some of my family roots. I hope y'all got something out of it, enjoyed some of it, and like I said, we can go and we can look at other parts of the family. I'm going to do a little bit of research into some of these people because, I mean, some of it kind of blew me away. I mean, especially getting back to Zephaniah, I think was his name. I mean, if all the tracing proves true, then I have an ancestor that was here before the American Revolution. Actually, technically, it'd be at least three because his parents would count also. So, I've got roots going back to before America was America. Um, it kind of shows you that sometimes your roots delve a little deeper than what you think they might. And also, too, some of the places they came from were unexpected. I didn't expect to find those connections there. That's not where I thought that my family tree would go, especially at that point. So, anyways, also too, if y'all aren't members of my page, I would really appreciate it if you go down to the big red button, hit it, make sure that you're getting everything that I am posting. Um, Also, too, there is the thumbs up button. Uh, Sorry, that was my thumb. I couldn't get far enough away from the camera there. But yeah, give a nice big thumbs up button. And, let me know that, you know, you enjoyed the content. Also, lets YouTube know that you enjoyed it also. And, you know, feel free to ask me questions. Or, like I said, if there's something that you know that I don't, help me out. Help me out in my search. I'd really appreciate it. So, anyways, just the subscribe, like, and comment. That I always say. So, uh, for everybody else, I hope you kind of enjoyed kind of a look into how quickly and easily your tree can be built up, and we'll kind of go from there. Anyway, so I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.